Okay,
Correct.
so welcome. Can you guys all hear me? Because it was cutting out on me a little bit. Kristen, can you hear me? Oh, okay, perfect. So welcome. My internet, I think, may have been cutting out or something was happening. So if you can't, just let me know. So kindergarten's a really fun grade. I really love kindergarten. It's a fun year of learning. It's, an extension from preschool. They're starting to kind of refine, skills. They're still learning those, social emotional skills and how to function in a classroom with other students. And for most students, it's a new school. So learning the school, learning the people in the school, where to find things in a building. And we do take about, 6 weeks to 8 weeks just to adjust to the new life as a kindergartner. And I always say this to my parents at the beginning of the year, and I think that they're always shocked. Please don't be surprised if your kindergartner comes home at the beginning of the year super tired, even if they've been in preschool all day long. It is just a little bit different of a world. Each jump from grade level is just a little bit more of an expectation. So they are really tired at the end of the day. So I think that the biggest thing on my end that I see as a teacher, and I'm a mom of two kids, is keeping a routine as much as possible would really help your kindergartner be the best that they can be. The morning routine and then that end of the day routine, because they are really, really tired, and trying not to overschedule as much as possible. I think that's a big piece. And then a typical kindergarten day, we start our day. If they go to breakfast, they go to breakfast. If not, they come right to the classroom. Different teachers have kind of morning work, or I have options of morning activities in my classroom. And then we start our day. This year, our schedule is around 9:45 is when kind of we try to start learning till about 11:30. That's our morning chunk of morning meeting. So we check in with social emotional behaviors, kind of just a group gathering, starting the day. And this year we started right with a literacy block. So the students have a mini lesson and then they do some stations, which works on skills at their individual or group level, and really working on some independence so that the teacher can work with a small group or students a little bit at a time. That does not happen the first 6 weeks of school, but it is now the work that we're doing as the year has gone on. And then we do about a half an hour of phonics instruction a day, where they're learning letters, they're learning sounds, they're learning how to build words together, sentences, sight words. And then we do a program, which I believe the preschool does do, which is Haggerty. So it's all phonemic awareness, which is sound students here, which is an amazing program. And they really take off when they start using that program. And then we have about a 20-minute recess. So we try to get out as much as we can, 20-minute recess, and then about a 30-minute lunch. And then we have a math block. And the students do rotate to specials each day. And that's about, I think it's about 50 minutes this year, 45, 50 minutes. So 2 days a week, they'll go to PE. And 1 day a week, they'll go to library. Another day, they'll go to music and then art. And then we kind of come back. We do have a snack in kindergarten. Usually it's in the afternoon because it's a really long afternoon and they're usually hungry at that time of day. And then we do play-based learning. So there's options for centers where they learn how to incorporate those social skills that we're learning about in class. They're learning how to work in a group. They're learning how to play and share and communicate and all those skills. And then we do have, a chunk for our IB planner, which kind of each school has a different, I guess, piece of the IB planner. So they kind of change. But right now, kindergartners in our school are working on community and what makes a community in neighborhoods and community helpers. And we kind of just tie that into our communities that are like ours, communities that are not. And they kind of learn a lot of different IB words with attitudes. So what's caring, what's being open-minded. Right now, it's perseverance, working through a really hard task. Like, I know it's hard, but we're going to keep working through that. I think the biggest piece that I can say too, besides the day, is to communicate with the teacher. We're here for your child. We're here to, the best interest. And it's challenging if we don't know something because we're trying to figure out the puzzle pieces as we move on. I think that's the biggest piece that I've noticed. And I think that most teachers are open to email, phone calls. Some teachers use Remind. So as the year kind of starts, just try to figure those pieces out. And I'll tell you this, no question is silly, because if it's your first child, everything's overwhelming. And we've all been there. We've all been there. We all understand. So ask and ask away, because we're here for your child and we want them to be successful. And you do get inundated with a lot of information from a lot of places. So I don't know if you guys are looking for anything more, or if there's questions.
Anybody have questions? Go ahead, Chelsea.
Are there like certain skills that they should have in order to like be successful when they first come in, or like, you know, letters, numbers, like things like that? Like, are there certain like sort of fundamentals like that you can build on that would help them be successful?
Yeah, so I'll just say that I think this is year 18, education has changed a lot. So and yes, skills are very, very important. I will say that, but I think the most beneficial skills that you could provide your child is some independence. Having them try to complete like a 2-step task kind of on their own. So like put your shoes, that is a huge one. I think also being able to just problem solve and be able to speak up for themselves. A lot of times kindergartners will go home and say something, but then we don't ever know. And that is a very typical thing for preschoolers and kindergartners, but being able to have their own voice and being able to go to an adult. And we always talk about that, but it's always those things, especially at the beginning of the year, that are really, really important, that help get them off on that like right foot, asking for help when needed. But right now is like listening and doing. We have to listen to the lunch aides. We have to listen to the recess aides. We have to listen to other adults besides just teacher in the school. And then beyond all that, yes, right? We want those critical thinkers. So anything that you can do, like a logic puzzle, is super important. Thinking like outside the box. I know I'm not giving you those specific academic skills, because all these other skills are skills that are equally important. If they could hold a pencil like the proper way, and hold scissors the proper way, and write their name, that's huge. That's huge for us. Would I love for my students to have some knowledge of letters and sounds and numbers? Yes. But I do think those come when they're also ready to receive that information and that instruction. And I think that just being in a preschool and not at home with another dog is huge. Being with other students, the classes are at least double the size with less adults. So they have to work on being patient. Another important skill. So we acknowledge like, okay, I see you have your hand raised. I'll be there in a minute, because my class right now is 23 and there's one of me. And I can't get to all of them at the same time. So I would not, I'll say this, also read your child. If your child is like, not ready for it, I wouldn't push it. It's not setting them up for the best positive educational experience at a young age. So read your child. If your child loves letters and your child loves numbers, go ahead and go with it. But I would do it in like a fun way, with like foam letters or like sidewalk chalk and things like that, not just like a worksheet, if that helps. Okay.
And just as a little plug and reminder, we're having a parent education night on March 14th, and one of the sessions is going to be a successful start to kindergarten. So if you'd like more information on that, we'll have that on March 14th. And it looks like a question came up here. Oh no, it's just your thing. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Okay, so Kelly, thank you so much for your time. Certainly appreciate that. And thank you for giving the overview of what a day looks like in the kindergarten. We might reach out to you too about our March 14th thing and touch base just to make sure we're giving good information. So thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, perfect. I think somebody has their hand raised. I just happened to see it.
Thank
All
you.
right, I see that. Yep, go for it.
This is Caitlin Bell. My daughter's birthday is in July, and I was late to the conversation, so sorry if you've already covered this. And she is in Shaker pre-K. She's had that experience. What sort of advice would you guys give on sending on sending a very loud 5-year-old to kindergarten versus holding off until she's 6?
It's always the $1 million question, right, Mom? There's not a perfect answer for that. And I will go back to, you are her mom. You know her more than the teachers will know her. Even if it's a pre-K teacher, you've been her mom for fun of that. I think I would talk to the preschool teacher and see what their thoughts are on that. I think the biggest piece that I have seen, are they socially and emotionally ready? Like the academics will come, it's the social and emotional piece. Is she happy to go to school every day? Is she excited to go? Is it oh, we've got to go, and there's the tears still, and there's the hard breakaway from parents. I also think for some, birth order has something to do with that too. Sometimes the youngest of the families tend to not be as ready as maybe the firstborn. That's a hard one. I think the biggest one is the social emotional readiness of being able to learn. I also think this, can she attend to a task for maybe 5 minutes? Can she focus for about that long? I think that would be another piece to the difference between preschool, which is more play-based, and we still do some play, social, emotional piece to that. I've had students in the past who, actually this year, I have kindergartners who have an August birthday and are very well adjusted. And I have kindergartners who have an August birthday who are very still warming up to the idea of school and being in school. So I talked to your preschool teacher. I'd go with your intuition, Mom, on that, because we have ranges of students who have a June, July, August, and even some September birthdays that enter kindergarten. And I also think about this, like, what is it the same as it is now? Is that benefiting her? Is it not? Because I've also learned that sometimes sending them to kindergarten is probably sometimes better than the same that you've done in the past. If it's just the same. The last one I would say is check with your pediatrician. I guess that would be the other like component to that, is check with pediatrician and see like their thoughts on that too, because age is not the only I guess piece, that we look at.
Thank you very much.
Yes, good luck. I know it's not easy.
Okay. Thanks again, Kelly. We appreciate that a whole bunch. And if other questions come up, please just put them in the chat and we will, if we can answer them, we certainly will get them answered. So I'm going to turn it over now to Noreen, and she's going to talk, show us some slides and talk about the transition to kindergarten process.
Yes, wonderful. And I'm going to frame the conversation within the context of kindergarten readiness, because that's always like a buzzword that parents are really keyed into. And I have a lot of like thoughts and feelings about that. So again, as Kristen said earlier, feel free to hop in, just unmute and ask a question or make a comment as I go along. But a lot of the things that I am going to present are really very much very similar to what Kelly just shared with you. So let me see if I can get this going here. And let's see. I have it, Kristen, I have it tabbed at the top. How can I get this bar out of the way so I can get to the tab? Let's see.
Kristen, you're muted.
Thank you, Allison. Sorry, you should just be able to click on the bar and move it down.
Click on
Can
the
you
whole.
do that? Yeah, the bar and move it down.
All right, sorry guys, I'm just trying. Oh, here we go. Does that work?
Okay,
All right,
there we go.
all right. And now I want to share the whole thing.
Slideshow.
So click on slideshow. It's right there next to the orange share with the two little people. See the
Oh,
two-
thank you, thank you. Okay, here we go. Thanks, everyone. Okay, so, we're going to talk a little bit about what that means when we say kindergarten readiness. And again, Kelly just kind of went over some of these things as well, but I just want to allay everyone's concerns that there is no parameter or benchmark indicator that your child has achieved everything in all of these domains, so therefore they're ready for kindergarten. A lot of kindergarten readiness has to do with the things that you're doing as families to promote the learning process and your child's development. A lot of it has to do with the schools being ready to receive the children, because as we all know, learners are different. We have our strengths, we have our weaknesses, we have our preferences, we have our things that we would prefer, just to put by the wayside. Kids are the same way. So we're really not looking for something very particular in terms of kindergarten readiness. There are domains, just like there are in preschool. So we're looking at language and literacy, mathematics, your physical well-being, so your motor development, gross and fine motor, science, and then the social foundation, so getting along, interacting, the turn taking, sharing, as Kelly said, critical to be able to for children to be able to wait, because there are going to be more children in kindergarten, so delay gratification a little bit, or your needs won't necessarily be met immediately. So some that is included in social foundations, and then social studies and the fine arts. Again, because your children are all in the preschool program, these are all domains that, believe it or not, some of them have a shorter day, whether they're in the half-day program or the full day, they are getting this information and the access to all of this, the domains every day when they enter the preschool classroom. So how can you tell if your child's ready? Well, these are just some indicators. Are they enthusiastic towards learning? That's one of the wonderful things that both our program as well as families promote. There's a lot of exploratory learning that happens in preschool. Are they excited about it? Do they like to discover things? Being able to ask questions, and feeling comfortable about that is really, again, something that you can promote. Persistence with task difficulty, whether it's having to do with a motor component or just attention and focusing. If it gets a little bit hard, those are some things that you can assist your child with. Language skills, so communication, communicating needs, wants, experiences. Some children aren't able to do this verbally. They might need assistance. They might use a device to do that, or they might use gestures. But whatever way that your child communicates to promote that independence and being able to express what they know or what their needs are is critical. We talked a little bit about ability to listen, but following instructions is critical. being able to listen to an entire story. I think I heard Kelly mention about 5 minutes. Can your child attend for 5 minutes? Stories are usually a little bit longer than that, but you know, wouldn't expect that a child's gonna be hyper focused the whole time, but sitting in a circle, you know, listening to other people's comments, following the instructions as far as not only the routines, but also in the learning process of Heggerty, there's Kelly mentioned that, like there's routines or things that go along with that. So being able to follow those instructions. At home, this might look like following instructions like, okay, we're, you know, getting ready for dinner, so we're going to clean up our things, and then we're going to set the table, that type of thing. Desire to be independent, does your child separate from you to enter the school day? Are they taking responsibility for their belongings? I know our preschool is really emphasizes this, so the children can be as independent as possible. So they know the routines, they're familiar with it. They really try to not assist the children as much with the hands-on, but promoting like, yes, you can do it, that type of thing. Encouragement, assistance when needed, but try first and then we'll give you assistance. Taking responsibility for bathrooming and anything like that, washing and drying hands. They know the routine by now. So those are all things that you can be helping with along the way as far as at home as well. If you have expectations for when they come in the door, taking their things off, is there a certain place that they put them? These are all things that will really help them enter to kindergarten and be as independent as possible. Ability to interact with children and adults. So some of this is like, we were talking like problem solving, taking turns, sharing, you know, everybody gets into conflicts. It's just part of life. Are they able to kind of manage those, negotiate them with the peer without, you know, as much independence as possible? Compromising, sometimes that takes a while for children to learn that, but that's a critical skill as well. And then we're looking at motor skills. I think Kelly also mentioned like holding a pencil or a writing utensil the right way, cutting with scissors. So are they able to, you know, again, preschool, they practice a lot of these things. I was just in one of the classrooms today and they were doing a sequencing activity, arts and craft. And so they were cutting out materials and then they were gluing, then they were pasting them on there and writing their names. So all of those things, if you want to promote that at home, if you can grab a bunch of different arts and crafts materials and then just have a box or something that you put them in, you may already be doing this, but you know, you can take some time. I know when children are younger, like a lot of 3-year-olds typically don't have experience with scissors, but they do when they get to preschool and they have a lot of experience. But anyway, kids usually love scissors. So if you can have some practice with that, you know, maybe some time after dinner or something, if you want to do some arts and crafts and have them use the scissors, the glue, any of the writing materials or utensils, that would be great. And then basic letter and number awareness. So a lot of this is through practice, but you know, singing songs. There's a lot of great educational videos now where they also like move. There's a lot of movement. So kids learn a lot through music and movement. So anytime you can make it really pleasurable. Same thing with counting. If you're doing it like you're going up and down stairs, anything that you can incorporate it into, you know, and naturally anything that you're doing, that would really be helpful. So some of these readiness checklists are from like the Ohio Department of Education. So these are some of the things that they're looking for in terms of, again, readiness in the sense of this doesn't have to be a checklist and that you check off all the boxes, but is your child able to speak in complete sentences and can they be understood most of the time? So in other words, are they using words to express what they need and what they want, their feelings, their desires, something that's happened to them or something that they want to happen to them? Are they understanding two-step directions and making comparisons between things? We kind of went over the fine motor skills. Also, like being able to start copying. Are they, have them practice drawing a person or drawing, whatever it is that they want to draw. Doing simple puzzles. All of those things are great for visual spatial as well as motor control. Gross motor, running, jumping, hopping, climbing stairs, bouncing. Most kids find those things very pleasurable, and I would just encourage you to continue to do that as well, foster that love of that. Math skills, anywhere from counting to matching. So really more of an understanding of the concepts of math. Don't worry about if your child can't count to 10 rote counting yet, that's okay. They're gonna learn and try to practice it in natural ways as well. Reading readiness, a lot of this is giving them the opportunities to have enjoyable experiences with books and with stories, and commenting and asking them, what was their favorite thing about the story, or what did they think when, you just dive into there, ask them questions. So you want them to be able to listen to the story, find the pages of a book. So even like the orientation of what the book is, like ask them to show you where the front cover is, or the top, where the print is, that type of thing. Recite the alphabet. Again, make it as much fun as you can. Are they recognizing and trying to write their own name? Rhyming is really critical to literacy. So I would really encourage a lot of practice with rhyming. And then being able to connect letter sounds to letters. So if you want to have them practice some of those things as well. And I said, can they draw a picture to express an idea? Self-help skills are critical. Anything that they can do to foster their independence, using the bathroom independently, washing hands and drying hands, the basic self-help skills. I know a lot of kids still have difficulties with the fasteners, and that's okay. So for instance, like zipper, if you want to get it started for them, the teachers do this, and then they're encouraged to, zip it up themselves or unzip it themselves. Knowing saying their full name and their age is really helpful, and that's also basically a safety issue as well. So they'd be able to report who they are. Social and emotional skills, how are they with being able to, we talked about the separation and the interaction with kids, but managing their own emotions as well and their feelings. Like, quite often preschool teachers will refer to as having big feelings. Can we use some strategies to help support them with, if they're getting those big feelings and emotions, can we help them to calm down so that their brain is able to process the information? Paying attention, following directions. There is an assessment that happens in kindergarten once they get into kindergarten, and it's called the Kindergarten Readiness Assessment. And that also helps really the teachers to understand where the children are in terms of all of the domains, what their interests are, their knowledge and abilities. So that's just something I wanted to share with you as well. Every child that enters kindergarten in Ohio will have we refer to it typically as the KRA. There's not anything that you have to be worried about or concerned about, but it just gives you an idea of, how the assessment is administered. And then somebody asked, well, you were commenting about the eligibility or how would I know age-wise if my child is ready? So in Ohio, the law states that children who are 5 years old, for Shaker, we chose the September 30th cutoff. Some districts have an earlier cutoff. I think June 30th, I believe, or August 1st, but in Shaker, we're still September 30th. So they are age eligible to enter kindergarten. Children who are 6 on or before the first day of kindergarten are required to enroll in kindergarten. So just to keep that in mind as well, if that was a question that you may have had. So I wanted to just touch a little bit on the transition process that we have developed, and Kristen can join in on this as well. Because we are already getting your children ready for kindergarten, believe it or not, because it is, I think Kelly alluded to this, like it's a, you know, it's a lot of things are overlaid between what they're learning and what they're practicing, and the skills they're developing in preschool are going to also continue into kindergarten. So the way that we help transition kids is by having them in our program, having them getting used to routines, giving them a lot of experience, exposure, practice with all of those developmental domains and the skills that we talked about earlier. And then there's some other specific things that we do with the transition. And Kristen, would you be willing to give a little excerpt of what you guys do in terms of your...
Absolutely, I will. I am going to just pause. There are a couple of people with questions in the
Oh,
chat, and so
thank
I'm
you.
just going to
Okay.
answer those real quick. Your child does not automatically have a paraprofessional with them if they're on an IEP in kindergarten. It depends on what the IEP says, okay? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's the first 6 weeks of kindergarten. Each kindergarten class has a paraprofessional in there, a temporary paraprofessional in there for those first 6 weeks to help kids get adjusted. Somebody also asked about, only 3 to 4 weeks. Sorry, Kelly, thank you for correcting that for me. Yeah, the first month, I think it's the first month, right? Okay. And then somebody asked about a daily sheet, and Kelly, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that most kindergarten classrooms do not send home a daily sheet, but like in the older grades, you'll get a weekly newsletter sent home via either email, probably via email, versus a paper copy. Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
and every class does things differently. Every class does something different, and it's really up to the individual teacher. I send a sheet, but it's not necessarily what you have from preschool, but it is a sheet that does go home, and it tallies, and then after so many, the students make a choice on what they want, but that's a me thing, not a district or school thing. So you want to, again, talk to the teacher. If you're looking for something, you need to set that up with the teacher.
Okay, thank you. And then the last question was, does each kindergarten class have a bathroom in it? No, they don't. And they go as a group, they go in pairs. There isn't necessarily a staff member with them when they go to the bathroom. But again, I think that they typically go in pairs if they're not going as a class. Okay. And somebody else can jump in, please, if there's a different answer to that. But what we do specifically in the preschool to get ready for kindergarten is you should be filling out a kindergarten transition checklist with your child's teacher soon. It may be just sort of an over the phone kind of thing, or a backpack mail kind of thing. And that will talk about, you'll get to say specific concerns that you have for your child. But we start to talk about the transition process, not necessarily in depth in classroom with the kids until May, but as teachers, we talk about it. As kids on IEPs, we start to talk about it, what's going to be the best placement, or what needs have to be met prior to going to kindergarten, and what are the needs or concerns we have for them going to kindergarten. We also do a field trip to their incoming kindergarten school in May. And they'll get to get on the school bus, which, everybody's now been on the school bus because of the art museum trip, and that was a huge hit. So it'll be another huge hit to ride the bus to their school, to their incoming kindergarten. And we do a little tour. We see a kindergarten classroom, we see the gym, we see the art room, the music room, all those things. We typically meet the principal or a kindergarten classroom, or at least a kindergarten teacher. And they just get, you know, a little bit familiar with that school. Also so that's what we do. And then we'll have an end of the year conference with everybody, and we will go over at that end of the year conference, we'll go over their skills and, you know, things that potentially you could work on over the summer, and, you know, things that maybe are a concern for, you know, the following year. Each school has incoming kindergarten activities as well. So those will be on the district calendar, but there's also a lot of them do like play dates at the playground starting at the end of July, beginning of August. So those are all good things to look for. So if you do Instagram or Facebook or probably even Twitter, there's neighborhood associations in Shaker, the Sussex Association, the Lomond Association, the Annaway Association, and those play dates tend to get posted on there. I mean, they'll also be posted on the district website or go out to the district email somehow, but they also often tend to go through social media within the neighborhood through the neighborhood associations. Allison, have I covered everything that we do in preschool? Those last couple of weeks of school, and depending upon how many kids going to kindergarten in the classroom, we tend to be a little bit more heavy with reading going to kindergarten books and talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I wanted to just add in, so in the summertime, if you have opportunities to take your child to the playground at the school, or just, take a walk, and so kids have great pride in like, oh, that's my school, or this is going to be my playground. And then also, I know we all have a great time in the summer and everything gets pushed back and sometimes routines get off. I would suggest at least like a few weeks before school is set to start, to really start getting back onto that routine. And again, your kids better. Some kids can just like jump, easily back to a routine. But if you have a set bedtime, start them getting used to, getting ready and being in bed by that set bedtime. So those are all things I would say you could promote as well to help with that transition. Any questions? Mm-hmm.
The class size mentioned typical. That's probably a good question for the principals. I'm not 100% sure about that. 23 was what was mentioned.
For kindergarten, Kristen,
Yes.
we have 17, 20, and 22 in our kindergarten classrooms, and one classroom with a para.
Thank you. Anybody else have questions? Please feel free to unmute and ask, or put it in the chat, either way.
I just want to mention to let parents know, don't panic. I'm sure some of you listening to some of these, checklists, you're like, oh my gosh, we need to start like now. What's going on? But don't panic. We're all working together as a team, and your children are on the right track. And just, communicate and, ask questions as they come up.
And it is January, right? Or it's February today. It is February, and we still have months to go, right?
Right. And related to the transition for children that have IEPs, it is very possible that you'll have an amendment meeting this spring, so that it'll carry over into kindergarten. So they'll add like kindergarten services. So your teacher or your IEP case manager will be contacting you in regards to that. So then that would be an opportunity also, like if you have specific concerns about your child, or just a lot of, specific questions about what the kindergarten day or class might look like for your child, those are good times to, you can even start now contacting your your teachers and asking those questions, because again, you know, you guys are really important in this process, and the process will go as smoothly as everybody that's involved and is working together. So. Did we answer all the
Okay,
questions?
last call for questions. Yeah, we answered all the questions. So Dora answered the one about aftercare. There's no paraprofessionals in aftercare. They have to maintain specific ratios by the state. So there are specific ratios that are maintained. I don't know what they are off the top of my head, but there are ratios they have to maintain. Last call for questions. Okay, I want to thank everybody for coming. Summer
there's one
birthdays, any
more.
risk of holding a child for one more year if they seem ready. So again, that's a tough question to answer. If only we use the magic 8 ball for that. That's a great question to talk to your child's teacher with. And there's camps either way, right? Some kids, you know, get held back and then they're bored and then they, you know, are acting out, and then that's a whole issue. Some kids, you know, don't get held back and feel shy, you know, so it really is a personal decision, and it is one that you should discuss with the classroom teacher, and you know, make that decision. Again, I think Kelly suggested, you know, talking to the pediatrician as well. There'll be a range of maturity in kindergarten, a big range of maturity. So kids learn and they adjust and adapt. But again, that's a personal decision that you'll have to sort of figure out on your own. I'm sorry that I know that's not a very helpful answer. All right, I think that I have covered all the questions in the chat. One more call. Okay, thank you everybody for your time. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Dora, for coming, and Renisha Campbell, who is the principal at Mercer, was also in the meeting for a while. So thank you, Renisha, for coming. Appreciate that. Noreen, thanks for your presentation. Allison, thanks for being here to support everybody. Appreciate it. Good night, everybody.
Right.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Good
Thank you.
night. Have a good night.